I don't have time for this bullshit.
Ha! Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. All this guy ever does is BS. Anyway, it's time for another edition of BSing with Big Nate.
Of your design left us where we least expect. Revitalize your broken spine. Heal the scars around your neck. Everything they said was true. That you can die by your own hand. Now everyone and all you know was left to die on your demand.
I feel alright, I feel alright, I feel alright, I feel just fine. Lively today, free your dismay, forever bleeding out my eyes. I've never laughed so stable. And I'll leave my secrets on the table for you to read them yourself.
One more fucking time. Do you even have a clue? Do you even think it's fair? Where were you when I was fine? Were you even fucking there? Violate myself so low. Hear me out for my despair. Can I suffocate my mind? Make it fucking disappear.
In my fable, I am the highest of high. Am I able to wither in the rain?
The senses, the setbacks, try picking it up and I fall back. Mortality just withers me away. The thought or suggestion, my instincts, complexion just placed into sections, yet stuck in the same place before. Distinct world. Never did I stand beside. Insanity was my own grip. Pretty face and stay with blood reminds me of my circuit trip. Let my heart subside. For me to wake to see your death. Then I would treasure nothing more than waking to my final breath.
Ventruss with Sentiment. Welcome into another edition of BS with Big Nate. Joined today by Ben, vocalist for Ventruss. Out of are you actually in Baton Rouge?
I'm right outside Baton Rouge, like about 45 minutes outside Baton Rouge in a little town called New Roads. But yeah, we're in Baton Rouge.
There we go. That's what I like to hear. First of all, and I think you're checking off. I've got a map, and you're checking off Louisiana for me. So thanks for that. I want to talk about the track, and then I want to get the background on you guys. First, we'll kind of break down Sentiment. it's kind of a very moody track to me, and it's extremely atmospheric. But the way it opens, it's kind of got this like slow, just kind of gets you set, and then the ambience of the song is just very moody and kind of brooding. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. There's a lot of emotion in this song.
And so, what's the background on the track? I know I don't want to spoil what I read, but it definitely seems like there's a very clear, important message here.
Yes, it is a very personal track. It is a very it's a deep track. So around 2017, I became friends with this girl. We talked pretty frequently. We had like a mini falling out, and then out of nowhere, she committed suicide, unfortunately. And the weird thing is I didn't find out about it until like weeks after it happened. I just like lost contact with her, and I decided one day on Facebook I'm just go check on her, see how she's doing. And then I find this out. It's 2 weeks after the fact that it happened, and it was just a huge just blow to me because like it really, that was like one of the first instances I realized that like you really do not, I mean, like it's so cliche and everybody says it, but you really don't know what people are going through, and you really can't judge people sometimes by the way that they act and whatnot, because you really don't know what's going on in their head. And it really opened up my eyes to that. And then it also reminded me of a time where I was mentally weak and I was struggling for, life. I was struggling to find my purpose, and I was struggling to find my reason for being alive. And it really did just bring me back to that point. And I mean, it still, hurts me to this day, but it was a very rough time. Writing that song took a lot. Writing that song took a lot out of me.
And that's another thing I want to talk about. Of course, yeah, that's a tragic, and I don't think it's cliche. I think it becomes cliche because people don't really appreciate the impact, but you absolutely don't. I mean, look at all the people, for instance, Chester Bennington. Like nobody knew he was suffering. Every video, everything you see of him, he's smiling and laughing. Robin Williams. So it's something that is of an extreme impact and importance. And I think it's important that, this song came out. I think particularly it's important that it came out when it did. But what was the timeline? Of course, she passed away back in 2017. When were you writing and kind of putting this all together?
It was actually 2019 she passed. But we put it all together. I believe Jesse presented the idea probably around like right at the beginning of the pandemic. So it was definitely written during that time. And, we went through different phases of, I went through different phases of what the song was going to be about. It just took me a while to like feel it out. And, at first it was in drop C, so it had a completely different feel to it. And then once it went into drop B, it became darker and it became, way more just moody. And that's what kind of led for me to write that.
See, I was going to ask about the tuning because it definitely, once you get to those drops, it definitely adds to the mood. I was going to guess drop C or D, but I have terrible with detecting tuning. I'm very musically talented. So, but it definitely contributes to the mood and it helps that brooding feel. I also want to ask, the writing process. So like, does the band come to you with, let's say someone comes with a riff or a drum fill, and then you go from there? How does it all get built?
Like about 9 times out of 10, it starts off with a riff and we just build off of that. Usually, whenever I come in, I kind of like wait till everything is done because my vocal patterns and everything, my melodies are very, very based on the rhythm, and because I've written rhythms before drums were even a thing on a track, and I would bring them to the table whenever we would all be together, and they would just sound like a train just got derailed. So yes, riff, drums, then me.
I think that makes sense. I think that's the way to do it.
Yes,
I also want to get
the most efficient way.
I want to get more background on Ventruss as a band. How were you guys formed? How did it all come together?
Well, I started the band in 2012. I was a senior in high school, And I started with a bunch of guys that were kind of local to my region. And over the years, obviously lineups change. I started it there. We started playing shows. We started playing at like thrift stores and pretty much anywhere we could, burger joints. We played at all these most of these places didn't even have PA systems. So we were bringing our practice PA system to these venues all the time and took up a lot of space in the car. Along with that, we, we played we played these shows and, tried putting ourselves out there. Whenever we started out, we weren't even as metal as we are now. We were more so like a hard rock band because I couldn't even scream. And we were like, at the time, like post-hardcore and metalcore were really popular. And we were in our age group, those were the bands that we were kind of getting lumped in with. And it kind of was like a very, very hard process for us to break out. And then eventually we started playing with bands more similar to our sound. It was a much older crowd. And like once we got into that scene, traction started happening. We started getting more shows and we started getting actual people coming out to see us and whatnot. And then, like I said, as the lineups changed, this lineup that we have now has probably been together since 2017 or 18. So, but through that, it took us a little while to start snowballing into playing like shows with national bands such as Hell Yeah, All That Remains. We played with Cannibal Corpse. And once that started happening, the snowball got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the shows were turning out way more. And it was just, that was really kind of like, we were cutting our teeth just as like a typical local band for a long, long time. And, I think it was like the attitude too, like once like the new lineup came, the attitude changed. And then they were like, all right, well, we want to take it further too. And I was like, well, yeah, that's what I've been trying to do since day one. So yeah, definitely the short version for sure. But yeah, definitely started in 2012 and just snowballed into what we are today.
That's something that I think a lot of people don't realize when they're seeing bands is kind of the evolution of the process. I mean, because it is a process. My dad always sends me this video. My dad's actually the one who kind of turned me on to hard rock and metal, and he always sends me this video. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a hardcore band playing in a Denny's.
Yes.
He sends it to me at least like once a month because he thinks it's the funniest damn thing in the world. And it's like, no, Dad, you don't understand. Like I've seen bands play bowling alleys.
Yes.
Like, it definitely happens. And those, I mean, there's a certain degree of a rawness to those. To me, I mean, I love going to those little shows that, like, you see a flyer. I mean, back in the day, I'd get handed paper flyers. I don't know if that's still a thing, but you'd go to this little like dingy bowling alley and you're seeing your friend's band, and then that's important because it gives you that growth. That you also have that support system. People really get involved with the local scene, so it's definitely an intriguing process to me. I want to ask. Have you guys played a show back yet since the pandemic's kind of, I don't know.
Yes, we played two. We played one in St. Joseph, Missouri, and one in Shawnee, Kansas, which is just right outside of Kansas City. So we haven't played locally, but we have played on the road, and it was all like both of those shows were incredible.
I was gonna say, like, what was the crowd's reaction? Because we're at a point where we're just now getting live music back, and I actually saw a post that really kind of stood out to me. Is the guest list is dead. We've had no music for.
Yeah, we've had no music. Buy your damn tickets. I mean, we're all about having a guest list, but come on, we need help.
Yeah.
The crowds were great, actually. Like they were incredible. It was a very, very very warming experience because we're driving 13, 14 hours to get to these places, and crowds are just great. We were playing with which we were friends with these bands and friends with Steve Seiferling, who it was his birthday show. And then he linked us up with another show in St. Joseph while we were out there. And, established bands in the area. We've been friends with some of the bands and some of the people on the internet for a long time. And, I don't know. It was just, I remember it being fairly packed. Both shows were fairly packed and fun as hell. And
so
cold.
Speaking of shows, you guys have one coming up, and I'm assuming, unless something changes, this will be your first local show coming up in July.
Yes, it will be.
And you guys are playing with Buck Cherry, correct?
That is correct.
So July 20th, make the trip down to Baton Rouge, or if you're watching in Baton Rouge, you're already there. But it's going to be a good time. Ben, sentiment out now. Give them some love on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I believe you guys have a TikTok.
We do have a TikTok. It is very new. We're still trying to figure out like how to really do it. But yes, TikTok at Ventruss.
That's the new thing, and I still haven't figured it out. I'm kind of just right now at a point where I'm hovering and watching and seeing, and think I'm getting a feel for it. So maybe we'll
Yes, same. I'm just observing and taking it all in and trying to like figure out how I'm gonna do it or we're gonna do it.
Well, Ben, thank you for joining me. Break a leg on the 20th, and yeah, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, Nate. Thank you so much.